people? Welcome and thank you for tuning in. It's Ian here along with Chris.
Hi.
Hey,
I saw Infinity War and you didn't.
whoa. Did you just go through time to an
I
instance
said
where like
Infinity. Okay.
where I didn't and you did?
You know
Did you
what?
just
We've been
distract
making
me?
I make that mistake more than you, but you make that mistake too. The predictions recording that we did says Infinity War on it.
Right.
We've been doing that. I've been doing it mainly though in the last year. I went and saw an Endgame, and actually, if you are listening to this, you probably did too. And if you haven't seen Endgame yet, you should probably stop because this is going to be the review and discussion. It's spoiled rotten. Spoilers. Go check out our non-spoiler review that Ian did. Kind of wraps up everything we're about to discuss, gives our ratings for it. Check that out. Go see the movie. Then come on back, grab a beer, and or coffee or whatever, or tea if you like the tea. Hang
Not too
out
many
and
beers.
listen to us jibber jabber about this movie.
Sounds like a plan.
But
So,
so again, one last time, spoilers ahead.
just so you know. Good. Just so you know, no, I did not get snatched out of a point in time. Yes, I saw in game as well. We were both just right off of this of the Thursday night preview for it. It's a lot to process here. There's a lot that happened. We're gonna break down what jumped out for us most. What were some of the lows? What were the highs? How is this paced? And how does this rack up to not just the rest of the Marvel films, but is this a fitting end to what we had set on the table with Infinity
To
War?
11
So
years. Is it a fitting end to 11 years? 22
yeah,
films.
yeah, man. I mean, it's the end of a phase. Like that's a
Yeah.
it's a
And
big
phase
deal.
3.
So there's a lot here. It definitely makes it important that you made the Browns. I really feel seeing all of Marvel up to this point was you did yourself a favor.
It was
You made it
trash.
far.
Everything up until this point was trash. This is they put this together and it's like okay, it all makes sense now. No. No, it's been great. It's been a great ride. It has been a ride. If you would have told me 11 years ago, 21 other movies and they're gonna do a whole thing in the Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet, and I would have been like, shut up, and I would have smacked you in the face. But here we are. Here they
Yeah.
did it. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
man. Endgame.
So
No,
one thing.
can I say something real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No. After credit scene.
None. Which is,
BS.
if you're an MCU fan, that's jarring.
Yeah.
That's a surprise. Now, that's not to say that we don't get it. We understand, sort of the whys, and you wrap up this
Yep.
whole epic scope. Okay, understandable, but still a surprise.
But
Really
you're still
surprising.
wrong. You're still.
I mean,
you're still wrong.
the most you get is that sound of what was that? That was from you pointed that out from the original Iron Man, right?
Yeah, I think when he's hammering together the suit.
Yep.
Yep. No, that's interesting, but you're still wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
and which is funny because this was the most that I've ever seen people wait for the after credit scene.
Same.
And then you're like, I gotcha. And I was like, oh, now you see. Now it's going to take another 10 years to learn them all over again.
Yep.
Now they're going to
My
think that you're not going to have after credit scenes anymore.
my whole theater was pretty much full of Marvel nerds. So everybody was just posted, just waiting for it. I had a pretty hype theater. Everybody was going nuts at the big moments and
I
everything,
had the
so.
most hype guy next to me. I mean, yeah, when Captain America got Thor's hammer, he
Oh,
literally
man.
jumped out of his seat and was like, "Yeah!" And I'm like, "Whoa, did you just get Thor's hammer? What the?" I mean, he went nuts. He's like,
Oh.
yeah. It was like, no, that's exciting. And he looked at me because we sat for an hour before it started.
Right.
And,
right.
we were talking about stuff. And he looked at me. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's settle down. This is good, but
Yeah.
that was pretty great.
Oh man. No,
But
that was part of the.
yeah, no, that was great.
Yeah. My theater went nuts when that happened. I had a couple of fans I got to sit and level with beforehand. And we talked about it. It was kind of funny because we rattled off a couple things beforehand, and we were talking about we'll get more into this too. Banner Hulk. and a few other things that were called. Like those little moments went off, and like, he leaned over, it's like, yeah, yeah, you call him, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. See, it's little stuff like that.
Hmm.
That helped, really
Well, and
enhance the whole.
now we did a predictions video, or at least we laid down the audio for for a predictions
Right.
video,
Yeah.
but I wasn't able to get it out this week because Mortal Kombat owned my life, starting Monday night at 11 p.m. Up until pretty much today. So I did not get a chance to actually put together a video for that. We're gonna have the predictions video after the spoiler one. So if you were interested in where we were sitting and what we thought was gonna happen and what actually happened, because you got some stuff right.
Yeah.
And overall, my last minute switch on the two main characters, at least as far as what happened to them, that ended up being true.
Pretty much in the pocket.
Which I'm glad I made that decision. So because up until 2 weeks ago, I was kind of reverse on it.
Right. Right.
So no, but it's interesting. But we obviously got some stuff wrong though too. So you can check that out. But yeah, well let's start. Let's start with that. Captain America gets Thor's hammer,
Yeah. What a moment. What
and
a
he
moment.
keeps it.
Only for a bit.
Well, yeah, we're debating that.
Only for a
We're
bit.
debating
The
that.
reason we're debating that is for when he goes back through the timelines, when he's returning the Infinity Gems to the rightful points, and he clearly has the hammer with him when he leaves. Now, what I think is weirder, and you pointed this out too, is the shield. When he returns, we don't see a hammer, but we clearly see a shield.
He has a shield.
Right.
Why?
Right.
And where did he get it from? That shield was broken off in the battle against Thanos.
Which was amazing in and of itself, by
Yes,
the way.
yes, it was. I even commented. I'm like, whoa.
I was utterly amazed that there's I mean, it's not out of the realm of impossibility, but that there's another material like that out there that could crack, not just crack, but just literally hack through vibranium. That was
Right.
an unbelievable moment. So, man. And I mean, Thanos is basically swinging a tree at that point. So,
Yeah, that weapon was right out of Soul Calibur. I think it was crazy.
Oh, that thing
But
was crazy.
yeah, so he leaves this Mjolnir
Yep.
and comes back with the shield. And it's like, here you go.
Yep. Yep.
And so a lot of people wondering who's going to be the new Captain America.
There you go.
It is Falcon.
Falcon.
Or
Falcon.
should we say Captain America?
Well, let's dive into that a bit too about the shield. And I'm just thinking about this as we're talking about it. If he went back to that point in time, obviously to make it so that he never went on ice in the first place, and that he actually did have a chance to have a full life, then the whole that battle at the end with Red Skull, and Hydra. Well, regardless,
Yeah.
whatever happened in that timeline, I'd imagine that shield would, be kosher.
You don't... For as nice and tidy as Infinity War is, and I mean for the size of that movie, that's pretty damn tidy. That's part of why I gave it a 10. Which, by the way, I gave that a 10 with an asterisk when we reviewed that last year. It gets to keep its 10.
Cool.
That's going to be official on my part. I think that's the only time I've done that, with the exception of Hellboy, when I said, hey, if this is pretty close to lore, it can have a 7.
Sure.
Yeah, it gets to keep its 10. This movie's actually pretty sloppy. It's actually pretty sloppy. Like, for example, let's look at the situation with Captain America. So
Sure.
you say he gave back Mjolnir, which, by the way, Thor took.
Right.
And as far as I know, he never asked him how he even got it, or
No.
where to even return it. He's also just stealing another Captain America's shield. But let's look at the gauntlets themselves, or the Infinity Gems themselves. So if he's returning the Soul Gem, that means he's going to have an encounter with Red Skull.
How does one even go about returning the Soul Gem?
That's an interesting question. That's that in itself. So, yeah, I mean, like we talked about with Gamora in the predictions video, the Soul Gem is either in part that person, or that person is inside of it.
Right.
And so that brings up another thing. They killed Black Widow. I mean, and they were like in that conversation with them, they said like 5 times, "You can't bring her back. You can't bring her back."
Made sure.
And even Hulk was like, "I tried to bring her back, and I can't bring her back." And I'm thinking to myself, that's because she's a gem.
Yep.
She's one of the Infinity Stones.
Yep.
But so what? Where is she?
Yeah.
How did that get handled?
Well, I think to find where she is, you'd have to ask, where's the quote unquote original Gamora?
Right.
You know?
Well, not to mention not only where is the original Gamora. Well, no, that actually that gets answered. Thanos destroyed it.
Yeah,
He destroyed them.
gone.
Which, by the way, for someone he loves, he didn't even keep her on the soul gem.
No, he did.
But or at least attempt to try to bring her back or take her out of it or
Right,
whatever. So that blew away my Guardians of the Galaxy 3 theories away.
right.
But yeah, I mean, crap. What was I gonna say? Oh, I know I don't remember.
No, no. See, man. Speaking of all that sloppiness, look, I think it comes down to this. Anytime as an audience that
I know.
yeah, hold
Oh,
hold on.
go ahead.
Anytime as an audience that we have to make a leap to sort of connect a few dots and sort of bring some things. That's when things can sort of get murky. But no, I
Yeah,
do agree. There's definitely a whole
there's a
conversation
lot of
there.
holes here.
Yeah,
This is
there
a
is.
sloppy movie, which is why, and I'll tell my rating at the end. But this one does not get a 10.
Right.
Um, the space gem,
Yeah.
which was in the Tesseract,
Hmm.
is not in the Tesseract anymore.
Right.
Well, so that timeline's going to have an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of things like this. And look, I get it. They're trying to wrap it up. The story they wanted to tell is done. But when you take 22 movies to tell this big long story, and you pay attention to details like that, you can't just say, Wizard did it
Right.
at the
Right.
end.
For sure.
There's
For
a
sure.
lot to tell here, and you know that it. There's a lot of timelines with some issues. There's a Captain America running around without a shield. There's possibly a Thor running around without a hammer. Years before he should have lost it.
Oh man.
There's Infinity Gem issues. I liked overall how this movie handled time travel and handled the repercussions of doing things. It was interesting at first because they tried to lay down this groundwork
Yeah.
about it's not going to erase what happened before because that was in the past and now this is the present, and so how can
Right.
that happen? But then
Yep.
Grandmaster's like, hey, you're right, but you're making a divergent timeline here and you're screwing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Uh,
I thought that was really interesting.
no, same here. I think the groundwork is really solid for, I mean, from down to the jokes about, um, Ant-Man coming to the realization, man, Back to the Future was lied to me. Stuff like that was just
Yeah.
hilarious. But
Yeah.
no, on the definitely as far as the actual structure, I think the way they laid that out of, divergent timelines and stuff like that, I've always liked time travel stories sort of bend more towards that direction. And I say this too, this Grandmaster, aka Sorcerer Supreme. I loved her foresight and also Thor's mother, right? Her foresight as well.
Hmm.
But they were the two that when those timelines were visited, I mean, there was no shock or whatever. I mean, they just knew, all right, like you're out of place. Like, and then especially Sorcerer Supreme, it's like, oh, strange. Yeah, it's not supposed to happen for another 5 years at least. So it
Hmm.
just, I think that adds even more levity to Doctor Strange, the original movie, and to her, for her knowing how all these dominoes were gonna, fall and how things were gonna happen, and yet going forward with that, and then her reaction, Banner saying, "Look, he gave Thanos the time stamp." He said, wait a minute, did whatever happened, if I screwed up, whatever else, here, you take this, you go do your thing. I'm
Yeah.
counting on you.
That was well done. That was really interesting because the conflict of just giving up the time gem, and she's like, well, "I'm not gonna just give you this time gem.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
what are you talking about?"
yeah.
But then when that came up, and they played that really well too. It's like, okay, all right, I'm in the middle of something here, and despite the fact that it has to do with our most precious and most guarded item, there's something bigger at play.
Right,
And in the fact that she knew that much about Doctor Strange, which I didn't realize she knew that much about him that far ahead.
right.
So that was very interesting. Um, okay, let's well, before I switch to something else here, how eerie and just kind of cringy was it to hear Captain America say "Hail Hydra"?
Oh, oh, oh.
I know I hated that. I hated, especially with what happened in
Oh.
the comics in the last few years. Um, I mean, it's still fun. I don't. In fact, it was it was well done, but still, I
He
hated
used his
hearing it.
head. We had a clear callback to a moment. Remember that elevator scene where
Oh
they
yeah, it
tried
was just like it was just very reminiscent from the one in Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier, exactly, when they tried to cuff him and all the suits and the heavy clad guards were in there. It was such a throwback to that scene, except he purposely played it different. In fact, he even
Yeah,
takes the very line. He goes, "Before we do this," then he makes that play. Cool,
yeah.
cool, cool.
Still hated hearing him say it though.
Yeah.
Still hated that. One thing I did get right, which this was kind of a lowball one, but um, the situation with Clinton Barton, Hawkeye at the beginning. Not only was that his
Yes.
family,
We've been
that was not Kate Bishop though, but I did say that's how they're going to open the movie,
Yes, you did.
and that's literally what they did.
That was the opening. Also, some trails to possibly, another Hawkeye down the road. But then
Yeah.
back to the conversation we had about Ronan as well, and what would lead him down that kind of path. And I think the thing we'd both come to, Jagged Edge, and some other times we were saying is the guy had to have lost his family for him to
Hmm.
change like that, to go on that kind of war path. And sure enough, um, look, zoning in on that a moment because that's the opening of the movie. It's something I wanted to mention earlier as well. This is what I like to call subverting expectations done right. Okay, not not a Luke Skywalker chucking the lightsaber away in the first 2 minutes, but this in the first 5 minutes or so of this film, I say we get about everything on the table that I think people would have wanted to see. And I think off the bat that thought of building up to going after the Thanos at this time, building, it seems there would be an assumption it would take more time to get to that, but no. In the style of Thor Ragnarok and a lot of the others they've gone after recently, first 5 minutes, just look at it. Captain Marvel in the scene, Stark's back, Avengers assemble, Thanos is found.
Hmm.
Realize there's another usage of the stones. Thanos is dead. Done.
That was nuts when
Like
they killed
all
Thanos
within
like
that time.
that.
That really took me aback. I said, "Well, dang." You know?
It was cool because we're just as shocked as the other Avengers who just watched
Right.
it happen, but at the same time, they're probably just like we're feeling like, you know what, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Thanos is
Yeah.
dead. I'm good with that. It's not like he didn't deserve it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. But I think that's doing it well. I think that really sets up things for okay. Now that all of that is out of the way, we can get on with the rest of this movie. So that instantly pulled me into saying, all right, how are they going to string the rest of this here? And how are they going to bring us to that point, to this conflict with
Hmm.
Thanos? The idea of you try to meddle with time, of course, it bites back somehow. We get this situation, with Thanos coming through the continuity to come to our present. And I think there's nothing cooler than when you start to create a slightly divergent timeline, another splinter of that happening, and then the two meet into something. There's a crazy clash. It was a build not quite the way I expected, but I think it was a cool ride the way it was done.
Well, no, so going back to Captain America, because there's a lot of issues around him.
Hmm.
So the future Captain America, or should I say current Captain America, tells past Captain America that Bucky's still alive.
Hmm.
I mean, again, really smart of him,
Yep.
but I mean, now Captain America is just going to be interested in finding Bucky.
Yeah, he will.
So, and not to mention, he's probably missing his shield too, because that's probably the one he took.
Probably.
Because that guy, he just complete. I mean, it's interesting because Captain America is, he's the standard to which, all people should try to reach, right?
Hmm.
But when it comes to people of another dimension, he don't give a fuck. He does not care. I mean,
Oh
which is
boy.
not any more evident than the way he just completely screws with himself in an alternate timeline.
Yeah, and I think you point out something really important here. Look, items aside, say what you will about shields and whatnot. That seems like stepping on a direct violation of stuff that you normally don't mess with going into the past, specifically talking about
Yeah.
other events that could happen or other fractures. That's a
Not
that's a can of worms,
not
man.
to mention that Hydra now feels that the Captain America in that timeline thinks that he's part of him.
Yes, yes.
I mean, he's like a honey badger up in that freaking timeline. He just doesn't care. Or whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, man. Oh man.
So
Uh,
let's continue with that though, because we're not done. We're not done with Captain America just screwing everything up. All right. So obviously at the end, which I thought was a really fitting end, I had predicted that Captain America would not die. I said he
mm-hmm,
would be in a coma.
mm-hmm,
Maybe bring him back later. The coma thing was kind of cheap, but ultimately my reason for saying that is you can't have Captain America die.
right.
He's not going to die. Not after everything he's gone through. It did not seem like a fitting end to his story. So what's he do? He just marries Peggy Carter from a different timeline,
Yeah,
and spends his life with her. I
yeah.
mean, who, by the way, she did get married eventually, right? Like
Uh,
when it wasn't
no,
him.
she moved. I'm trying to remember again.
Yeah,
Once
yeah, she
he
got
got off
married.
ice,
She got
yeah, she
married.
moved on. She
Didn't she
moved
have
on.
kids?
I I don't remember that.
Screw them.
Yeah.
Screw them. Steve Rogers doesn't care. I mean, that's nuts. He
Uh,
just alternate. It's not my dimension. I don't care.
you know,
I do what I want.
at the end of the day, when we talk about honey badgers, and now I think we got to have a bit of a comparison here. We've been talking about Stark for so many years and the stuff, the drastic things that he's done, with Age of Ultron and everything else, and and causing all that. I don't know, man. I think now we get a chance to kind of put those two side by side and say, all right, you guys both got some stuff happening here.
It's really interesting, and I think I think for the most part this wasn't given a lot of thought.
Hmm.
But it really makes Captain America look like not the American hero you thought, because it's like it's not my timeline. I'll do what I want. I'm gonna go rob a bank. I'm Captain America. I've got Thor's hammer and my shield. I can do whatever I want. Hell, he might
Oh,
have. You don't know what happened. He could have rebuilt the Infinity Gauntlet and used that thing for
oh
years.
gosh, now we're going crazy.
He could have. He's
Oh
got
man.
every gem. He could do whatever he wants, and no one would ever know. No, which is obviously not what happened, but Captain America is one of my favorite
Sure, sure.
characters from the MCU. His trilogy was great. Chris Evans did a phenomenal job. I think better than anyone, including those making these movies, would have thought he would have done. Um, I'm just having a little fun with it because
Sure, sure.
I think it's a huge gap. And I think to the point where the Russos were probably like, no one's gonna think like that.
Yeah.
Give me a couple minutes. I'll poke a couple holes in your plot.
I got one for you.
That was really cool at the end, seeing old
Yeah.
Captain America. And him, he does have the life with Peggy, and he does get his life, and it's a good end because again, you can't have him die, and it's even cooler because he is still around, and he
Yeah.
can make cameos, and maybe someday Chris Evans is like, yeah, maybe I'll be Captain America again, and then they find a way to make him young again.
Right. Right.
Sure, why?
Speaking of
They've done
speaking
that
of
in
the
comics a couple times.
For sure, no, for sure, for sure. Speaking of which, the cameos, you've got a lot of fun ones here. Yes, we did get our Stan Lee.
Yeah,
That was fun.
that was a weird one for Stan Lee though.
It was. It really was. Not where I expected it all. What was
Yeah,
that? The '70s era they went back to.
clearly, I don't think that was originally intended to be the last one, which it is.
Right.
Marvel Studios come out and said this is going to be Stan Lee's last cameo.
Right.
So, that's fine. I'm good
Yeah.
with it. But
So
it was definitely very odd.
yeah, but we still got that. Yeah, there's with a lot of other cool moments, mind you. I have to take a second and just talk about the aesthetics here since we're talking about cameos and other appearances. CG wise, Marvel is still up to standard here, but this is definitely a film where I think especially some major physical character changes throughout that have to be maintained. Banner Hulk
Hmm.
is definitely one that we have throughout. Especially, I love that by the way about just his whole attitude as bringing the Hulk character in his whole personality, in the physical being, taking pictures with
Hmm.
everybody, kind of
That
hamming it
was
up.
probably one of my favorite parts of the movie when they first introduce Professor Hulk.
Oh, that
It was so
yeah,
great, and it's like boom, and he's like, and so one of the things I said in the prediction video was that, just replace Ruffalo if he doesn't want to do it anymore. You can get somebody else. You can't now.
right,
That
right.
is definitely Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk at
Oh
this
yeah,
point, and it was perfect.
it was,
And they
it was.
they shut that shit down from me real quick. Um, No, it was great though with the pictures and all that, and then Ant Man
Yeah,
was like, "You want my picture?" And it's like, it was, it was so well done, and to see Professor Hulk pretty much through the whole movie, and even cooler when the Grandmaster knocks his psyche out
right,
of him, and then it's just Banner.
right,
It was cool to see, it was really cool to see that, and it really more than anything made me want to have another Hulk movie now more than ever.
definitely. No, absolutely. You had that. Look, talk about other stuff that was maintained. Thor out of shape.
That was so great.
That
I mean,
was
that was
great.
the frickin' frat house that all these guys are too old to be frickin' living like this,
Oh,
and
that was
they're all living.
great.
I know it's like, and he was fat sloppy Thor throughout the
Yeah.
whole movie, which was amazing because for the first two films he was just like, oh, I'm just God and I'm perfect, and Thor Ragnarok was definitely the fall of that version of Thor into this, but then here we go. I mean, loser Thor. It was, I mean, and they ran with it too.
They ran with it hard. You could tell this was Hemsworth having so much fun with this. In so many ways, the sort of freewheeling ad libbing that we saw with Thor Ragnarok. It felt like some of that spirit was brought to life here. And hey, we were wondering, we were asking, right, about where his buddies were they snapped out?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No, man, they were there.
There's
They were
Korg
there, and it was great.
hanging out playing Fortnite.
Yep. Yeah.
That was so awesome when Thor gets on the freaking headset
Yeah.
and tells him he's gonna kick his ass. What do you say? Take off his arms and shove him up his ass? Is that what he
Yeah.
said? That was so awesome.
Oh.
Although they did the whole thing with the new Asgard, which is something I had been saying I'd like to see them do. It's a shame that it was just kind of a note in this movie that could have
Yeah.
been a movie all by itself. But I'm glad to see them do it, and I'm glad to see that they answered the questions as to what happened to the Asgardians and stuff.
Definitely.
But it does bring up more questions. But like for example, I mean, so okay, they're living in the U.S. They're living on Earth, but they look just like people.
Right.
I mean, how long is it going to take until like there's half Asgardians running around on Earth?
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and what does that look like?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but no, I mean, whatever. I'm not upset. I think that could have been its own movie, but that's right. So Thor is now a guardian of the galaxy.
Yes, he is. He is not just that. He is specifically he is handed his title to Valkyrie.
Yeah, yeah, that too. That too.
Yeah.
That's
For
interesting.
kingship, rather.
That
Yeah.
that that ties it into a little bow, I guess.
Yeah.
For that aspect, but so and I had asked you about this. I'm like, did I mention at one point to you that I thought he might join the Guardians of the Galaxy? Because I don't
Mm.
think we talked about it on our shows,
Not live, but it was a side conversation we were having.
and so I should have said that one because that's where it went. Um, so yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. We get everybody back. One of the things we thought was going to happen was Nebula was going to die,
Right.
and she
Right.
did not.
Yeah.
Um,
The Nebula. Yeah, the Nebula we know. And what a clever little bait and switch. It's funny. You could walk out of this movie saying, "Well, wait. Well, Nebula died." Yeah, a Nebula.
That's true. A Nebula died, and a Nebula also did get the Infinity Gauntlet.
True.
So I think we get a half point for that
True.
because these
Sure.
events did happen,
Yeah.
just not in the way that we meant. But they did happen. Um, but now, and I brought this up to you before we started recording. Where's Gamora?
Yeah. Here we are.
Yeah. So where's past Gamora? She didn't dust at the end.
Right.
But she wasn't at the end at the funeral with everyone else.
Right.
Nor was she in the ship with the rest of the Guardians.
Right. Right. I could have. Oh man, I could have sworn she was in the ship. Maybe I'm just freaking out.
No.
I don't know.
So where is she? What is she doing?
Yeah.
She didn't leave on another spaceship. I know that.
No.
There's not another spaceship.
No.
Earth isn't that advanced. I mean, there's a couple Quinjets, but
Because let's Thor and Quill are having that hilarious conversation about whose ship it is, and then we kind of have slowly a couple characters intercede. Groot's there with Rocket, and then I think Drax is the first one to enter,
Yeah.
talking about you guys should totally get knives, and then the Mantis steps in, and we sort of fill the whole scene. Dadgummit, I kind of wish I had to play that. I was so focused on Quill and Thor in that moment, I didn't look at the rest. But I
It's
thought,
yeah, no, she wasn't there. It's just yeah, here's the thing. I think the Thor being with the Guardians is going to be interesting,
yeah,
but I actually am concerned that that dynamic is going to be played a bit too much and
sure,
maybe ruin the formula that these characters have.
sure,
Yeah,
sure.
we'll see. I mean, that's fun though.
It is. It is. I think part of where that worked best, is especially as such a hasty team up as that was in the first Infinity War, was sort of when they got their orders, their marching orders, and they sort of went their separate ways. Quill and his team had a different way of dealing with things, and what they were going about the Reality Stone, and then you had Thor saying, "No, I have a different plan. I want to go through with this." I'd almost want to say that sort of weaving in and out. They meet, they diverge. They meet. That works. I agree. Now with having them in such close proximity for so long, I wonder.
Hmm.
I wonder what's the sustainability of that.
And so does that pretty much mean that Gamora's gone? Because again, as we said, the current main timeline Thanos destroyed the stones.
Right.
I mean, unless he was lying. But they even specifically said in this movie that Thanos is not a liar.
No. No. And it's
So Gamora's gone.
yep.
Unless we're talking about past Gamora, which again, where did she go?
Past. See, that brings up another question. If past Gamora is now our Gamora, quote unquote, and you know what? I'm willing to put couple things aside, because look, it's obvious she is in our present timeline right now. Like that's established. She was in the battle. There were
Right. Yeah, she's around.
she's around.
She's just
We know that.
she's down the street at the local 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
She's,
I but again, I want to look at that other note too. Okay, what if anything does something get thrown out of whack for her just not being a part of that timeline anymore that she came from?
right.
I mean, if anything, actually, let's expand that. Thanos, his entire invasion force, the Black Order, all of them dusted
Mm-hmm.
from that time. Like what does that change in that other timeline? You know what? Could just me be talking crazy here, man. I think that leaves the can of worms wide open.
I think that leaves a tyrannical Captain America with with all the Infinity Gems and Thor's hammer, just doing whatever the hell he wants, taking other people's women and their
Oh,
lives,
give me
and
that.
it's
Um, I got it real quick. Got to zone in on this about Cap. And I was super happy to see this scene. And this is one of those does a body good thing. Captain America and Tony Stark coming to terms after Civil War and after everything. We'd seen this as part of the previews. When
mm,
Stark asks, do you trust me? Yes, I do. But in more ways than one. And the way they frame this is great. That first visit to Stark's retreat, to visit, and his family and Pepper and everything, like he flat out rejects it. The idea of, just don't mess with it. Before that, when they get him back, from space, when he's gone and when he's drained and everything, he hates breathing the same air Cap is in. But you know
yeah.
what? They come full circle. After all this, after everything that happened in Civil War, after all these movies, they come full circle to get this stuff done. I love that moment, and I was so glad to see it.
Yeah, no, it was done. It was done really well, especially because they did what they did at the beginning of the movie, where Tony Stark just like he's got to, Tony's being Tony. He's got to blame somebody else. Tony Stark can't make that damn mistake.
Of course
Somebody
not.
else made that mistake,
Yep.
and it's funny because everyone else is freaking out, and they're just kind of like, "Oh my God, Tony, shut up." They're just like, well, look, he's funding everything, so just let him get his jibber jabber out, and then we'll go on with our lives. Well, after Tony's done belting out his garbage. I mean, really, it looks like they're just kind of, at least for Captain America, at least he's just placating them. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, all right, are you done? Are you done? No one here believes a single word you're saying about this being
But
my
go
fault.
on.
Yeah. No, but no, that was really good. That I was happy to see that they did that. It wasn't going to be, oh yay, we're buddies, we're friends. No, Tony loses his shit
Yeah, he does.
as he tends to do.
Yeah.
Example: Age of Ultron,
Yep.
and also example: Civil War.
Yeah. Case in
So,
point.
but yeah, he not only did he say, not only was it an opportunity for Tony to say, not only am I not wrong, I was so damn right when I was talking about a shield around the world.
Hmm.
Interesting stuff. Really, really played off very well. But yeah,
Although I think, yeah, looking back to, I'm just glad to see a situation wrapped up. Civil War out of all the Marvel movies, bothered me. Not because I'm saying it's a bad film. I hated the rift. I always hated that that was there, and I wanted to see that
I
in some way
hated that the
bridged.
Avengers were not a thing anymore.
Well, that's what
Um,
sucked about it. That's what
right.
led to that. That's for me. That's why I could never square all of that on Stark's shoulders. Just he's the only one going crazy in the corner. No, dude, I thought collectively, I'm like, you all went nuts. Like,
No.
there was another. I always felt there was another solution in there. Not just going in Stark's direction. Governmental lockdown and everything, or completely going in Cap's direction. I just always thought there was something else. But oh well.
No, but it was good to see it was all resolved.
Yeah.
Um, did we? I know we talked about it before the show, but have we talked about Loki yet?
About we mentioned a little bit about, well, here's the
Oh,
segue in him getting his own
about
series.
the Tesseract being gone and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
So we're all like, oh, so that's how Loki gets a series because we figured it was a prequel. No, just Loki being freaking Loki
Yep.
just saw an opportunity. Here's the Tesseract again, and
I love that.
takes it. He's just like, do 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 do, gone.
See ya.
Yeah, I mean that was cool, but once again, here's the MCU taking back a death,
Yep. Yep.
and I'm fine with it. Whatever, it is what it is. Loki's fun, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with this now.
It will. It will.
Um, yeah.
Especially with that. Now I'm trying to get these straight, like the different timelines they went to. Now bear with me here. Was that timeline with that Loki and that Tesseract that he jumped out with? Was that the same one where that Thanos came from? Because I know there was that time they were grabbing three different gems
I
from.
think so.
And I would need to actually go back and connect a few dots with that, because I'm already thinking, if that's a thing. Look, this is just a complete theoretical. I know I'm not correct with all this, but if that's a thing, and we have a timeline with the Loki running around with the Tesseract, minus Thanos, minus a lot of others who should be in that timeline, without remember, y- you get where I'm going
So
with
yeah,
that.
so what it does is it creates yet another divergence.
Exactly, exactly.
Which is fine because the timeline that he created divergence from was screwed anyways by evil Captain America. So
I love you, this evil captain.
so that's okay. Loki made a smart move. He's probably like, this guy's gonna do some evil stuff. I'm outie.
Oh man. So, but yeah, dude. Hey, look, overall, this is an epic film. Really was super pleased getting out to see it. An
Yeah.
end to so much of the stuff we've seen from Marvel, but a beginning to a new phase. We're gonna have Spider-Man up soon again.
Yeah, let's talk about Spider-Man real quick.
Yeah, yeah. We got to look at this now.
Let's talk about old web swingy there. Pew pew pew.
Pew,
Pew
so
pew
happy,
pew.
so happy
Pew
seeing
pew
his return.
pew.
Of course, and then once that whole scene started with Thanos's all his war engines and everything coming, I said, okay, Wakanda's got to step in here somewhere because everybody should be
Mm-hmm.
back. It's like dodgeball. The team's here,
No,
and
that's
here's
all right. You had beer gut Thor. That's all you needed,
yeah.
really. But which, by the way, was awesome when he had both Stormbreaker and Mjolnir.
Oh yeah, dude, that was
I'm
sick,
like,
dude. 'Cause
oh,
dude,
that's OP as shit.
Thor totally picked up the dual wield passive.
He doesn't even need it with those. He can still have the negative penalties, and he's fine. He's still fine. No, but Spider-Man. Great to see Spider-Man. I mean,
Yep.
obviously we knew Spider-Man was coming back. He has a movie in 3 months.
Right.
But speaking of that, and I brought this up again before the show. So we're 5 years later.
Yeah.
Okay. But clearly in the promos for Spider-Man's movie, in the trailers and such, Far From Home,
Right.
all those kids are still teenagers.
Right.
Did they
Right.
all get dusted?
And we'd have to be led to that assumption because there's something really important here. Bear in mind what happened for the whole structure of this film. Time itself for this timeline was not rewound.
Right.
to what they did, those who still exist in this timeline, they do exist, but those who were snapped out of existence, they've been brought back. So there is still a gap. What's going to be super weird for Parker's scenario, and I'm curious if they're going to answer this in Spider-Man, is you're going to have some kids that are young adults now.
Right.
I mean, they 5 years have passed, and then yet you still have a bunch that are still in high school. So there's going to be somebody has to notice something out of place. That to me it would just be a little too convenient for no. You know what, this entire high school, all of them were snapped out.
Right. And Kevin Feige said a long time ago, I think about a year ago now, that Far From Home happens right after Endgame, like right after.
Wow.
So, I mean, there it is. So, how does that work for a person? So, Peter Parker is. Let's say he was 16 when he got dusted.
Hmm.
Is he 21 now, or is he still
Well,
16?
I would think he's still 16.
Because Captain America was frozen in ice, and he's over 100 years old. They actually count him as aging, but
Right.
he was basically the same thing. As far as the world was concerned, time stopped for him.
Right. Sort of. I mean, except for the fact that Cap still existed physically.
Right.
Like
But
anyone
he
who was
didn't. But he
snapped.
didn't even age.
No, he did. I mean, the whole. Yeah, he didn't. I mean, however you want to explain that about the whole ice thing and the way
I'm just saying
Marvel
because
was
then all
cover
these
that.
kids can drink.
No, you're right.
So, and they're gonna be in school, and a lot of them are gonna be like in a lower grade than their younger siblings.
Oh man. Well, it's going to be weird with their siblings, especially.
This,
Like
I mean, hey, I'm just asking the important questions.
there you are. I mean, if they age, they age, and if they didn't, like it's like, come on, like,
Right.
what's actually going to happen here? But yeah, yeah, anybody who got snapped out, you get to keep your age. Congratulations, but it's going to be really weird looking at people who are now
But
five
do
years
they
older.
though? Because if somebody was born in, let's say, '89, and they disappear for existence for 5 years and they come back, they were still born in '89.
Yeah, this is true.
I'm just
This is true.
saying. I'm just,
No, yeah,
I'm just
I
saying.
feel
There's
you.
a lot of loopholes in this movie.
I feel you.
There's a
No,
lot
I
of
do.
gaps here.
I,
This is
I
this is
feel you.
obviously doesn't matter, but
Right.
I do want to see how they handle that because I mean like Flash, MJ, all the other kids, Ned, they're all the same age,
Yep.
so
Yep.
they must have all been dusted.
Yeah.
Really interesting because only half of them should have been,
Right.
just by
Right.
going by the odds.
This whole half scale thing, man, the half is so subjective.
Yeah, and they
I
shouldn't
don't.
even call it decimation because decimation means leaving 1/10 of something.
Right. Looking at that real quick, just super fast. We're about Thanos and his whole stance. Look, this is a guy. This is a tyrant that predicated himself on this belief that look, overpopulation is a problem. I'm going to balance everything out. You know, I just kill half everything. You guys are going to be set. You're good. Have fun. I did you a favor. The fact that after looking at a timeline where he sees how this all plays out, and he even
Yeah.
says that to on the Black Order, and that's destiny fulfilled once Thor takes his head, and then him actually coming once he comes to the timeline, comes to Earth and says, you know what? Yeah, that whole thing I saw, yeah, screw that. Yeah, I'm just gonna wipe all of you out. I'm gonna wipe everything out and start over.
New
For me,
universe.
yeah. For me, the fact that he was just so willing to flip that switch just like that, and
Hmm.
that's not out of character from the Thanos that we've seen in the comics either. He's known
Right.
for this stuff. I think there was one timeline where he saw a version of himself or something that happened. He hated how that played out.
Now, I
So,
think we get a half point for that because we did discuss that Thanos was going to be convinced that his actions were the wrong course of actions.
right,
We
right,
said it would happen in a completely different way, but we did say it would happen.
right,
I think that's a half
right.
point.
Half point, half
Half
point.
point.
I, I couldn't help but chuckle at that a bit, but I liked it. I like what it did for him. I liked it for his characterization. I think the slight nod back to the comics, but also just the guy's just the scale and just his sheer madness about everything. Just the way he can on a dime, make universal, multi-galactic level
That's
decisions
because
like
he
that.
doesn't really think in that level.
He doesn't. He
He,
doesn't.
he he thinks on that. If we're getting into the psychology of Thanos, he thinks on that level because he feels as though his ego and narcissism is so big that he feels that he should not be involved in any other level than that.
Right. Right.
But when it comes to the consequences of his actions, he doesn't really equate what
no,
he's actually doing.
no, no.
I'm getting
And
all
I
psychological on you.
yeah, I think that's the masterstroke. And I actually think you're dead on. That right there is, in my opinion, what left some of the room open for that one in bajillionth possibility. And I love how Strange signaled that to Tony Stark again when he, raised his index finger in the middle of that battle, saying,
Hmm.
one shot, one chance. Part of what led to it, his very own ego, and that was his always his downfall in the comics as well. He was so convicted about that, what his destiny was, how grand everything was for him, and screw everybody else. So, but yeah.
So before we move on from Spider-Man, I want my biggest complaint of the movie. I love the Russo brothers. They've obviously created two great films here, but what is your issue with keeping Spider-Man in his mask? Why can't
Yeah.
you keep Spider-Man? How many people know who Spider-Man is now? Even
Pretty
even
much.
Carol Danvers comes up. He's like, "I'm Peter Parker." It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I don't blame him cowering at the seeing some flaming space chick.
Yeah.
I don't mind that, but no, you're Spider-Man.
Yeah. And how
Keep your
important
mask on, Spider-Man.
yeah, and how important his identity is. Look, not just for the fact that, okay, a villain could get a hold of this info and it could be really bad for my family, but keeping that on the DL as much as possible. I never knew Spidey to be one, even among heroes, to just willingly constantly flash his identity.
Yeah,
I
never. In fact, a couple of years ago, they actually made an issue to say I think there was 32 people know his identity. The vast
right.
majority of them Avengers.
Wow.
And that's after how many years? And of course, there was a time in Civil War when he showed everybody, but that was taken out. Mephisto
Yep.
changed that. Yeah, it drives me nuts, and it makes me happy that the Russos, excuse me, the Russos don't make Spider-Man movies, but my God, how many people know he's Spider-Man now? That's crazy. And like I was joking about before, all it would take is the one guy near that area, near Avengers headquarters, who was jogging that day, who sees all this and is just just recording everything that's happening. He's like, oh my God, that young man is Spider-Man. And next thing you know, it's on YouTube.
And bear in mind, the whole YouTube thing is very established in the
Don't
MCU
think that even in this dystopian future that there's not still a YouTube. There's still a YouTube.
And we've seen it. I mean, look at Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Right.
The whole thing about what was happening down at the San Francisco Bay or whatever, like that.
Yep.
Like people started sharing that stuff in social media like instantly. That's the whole deal. So for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
There. Yeah. Oh, jeez. I hope the Russos never make another Spider-Man movie. Stay away from him. Stay away. You're way too sloppy with the whole secret identity thing. I've been bitching about that since we first saw the pictures and stuff from Infinity War where he's just getting out of the bus.
Right,
It's
right.
like, how many people in that bridge just saw that? That's Spider-Man.
Just hope they were distracted enough by the giant ship.
Jeez.
That's all we got. That's all you got. All you got.
So Russo, stay away from Spider-Man.
There you go.
I don't know how they fix this.
Yeah.
What's done is done. But do you really think that Drax could keep his mouth shut about who's Spider-Man?
Oh, please keep Drax away. Please.
Well, he
Please,
knows.
well, he knows. I mean, just keep him away from Earth and stuff.
Do you
Man,
think drunken Thor can keep his mouth shut about who's Spider-Man?
doubt it?
Yeah. He'll tell Corrigan that'll be the end of it. Everybody will know.
Oh man, crazy. All right, dude. Are we rounding that bend?
I don't think so. We got more to talk about. There
Got
was
a little more?
there was a lot in this movie.
Oh, there was.
Let's talk about Carol Danvers for a minute.
Sure, sure.
Not everybody. A lot of people concerned about what kind of role she would play because she's, by Kevin Feige even saying, the most powerful person introduced in this world at this point. I thought they did a really good job with her role. I loved seeing the short haircut. That was
that was such a throwback.
that
right?
that was fantastic. No, that's not throwback. That's current. That's
Oh,
that's
well,
current
I mean,
Captain Marvel.
okay. I don't mean throwback is my bad. That's probably. I don't mean throwback is into the past. That's a clear nod to comics.
Yes. Yeah. No, it was great. But how do you, what do you do with such a powerhouse? And I thought what they did was really good. And then her coming in at the end and just shoots through the spaceship. Spaceship's gone.
Yep.
Boom. Titan
Done.
2. All done. And then she just comes up to Thanos, and he's struggling with her, and she's gonna like, nah, this ain't that much. I thought that was really well done, and how they address the fact that this character's in this world, and,
Definitely.
and where she was, which is kind of obvious. Where you been the last 20 years? Yeah, it's a big universe. Yeah. I want to point one thing out though from Captain Marvel to this one. You notice her jacket's gone.
I did.
She
I did.
ruined that. She ruined that jacket. I
I'm
told
about
you
to say
she would.
it should be gone.
Yeah. It should have been gone the first time she went back into Earth, and that should have burnt up going into the atmosphere. But I said that in our review. She's gonna ruin that jacket. She did. She ruined it. She ruined that jacket.
Oh man,
It's
so
gone.
much for that. But yeah, you're right. That's a super important point. Such an incredible powerhouse like that. It would be very easy to mishandle a character like that and sort of make one too many Mary Sue moments. To write a character like that and just have go correct every wrong and whatnot. But I thought with the way she was characterized and the way she fit, yeah, dead on.
I
That
was really happy. Again, the guy who was sitting next to me, we were talking about stuff for the hour beforehand. We were talking. Obviously, Captain Marvel has been a polarizing topic for the MCU, like her or hate her. I was very happy to see even someone because he's in his early 20s. This kid's in his early 20s,
sure.
and I was very happy to even see somebody who's a big fan to hear him understand because I wasn't sure how many or if anyone else understood that we were talking about Captain Marvel and it's like we were talking about how people complained about her and stuff and I'm like I don't think a lot of people understand that Captain Marvel is just not even a very likable character. Like people don't like her in the comics. She's a bitch and she makes a lot of decisions that people don't like and she's an alcoholic and I don't
Right.
think a lot of people understood that that's the kind of character they're being introduced to.
Right.
Very similar to Tony Stark. Tony Stark is a likable character, but he's got a lot of issues.
Yeah, he does. A lot of
And
flaws.
Carol Danvers is in the same way, it's just not in a ha ha funny kind of way, like Tony Stark coming back from being captured and making his first Iron Man suit and says, I want a cheeseburger. That's not what Carol Danvers does. I think Carol Danvers has been done just fine.
Yeah.
And I was happy to see that he agreed and that a lot of people just aren't understanding what this character is and what they're doing with her so far. I thought it was done really well. Keep it going. More.
Right.
I think Brie Larson's doing a fine job as Captain Marvel.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. As far as if we're gonna get into a conversation about casting or anything like that, Brie Larson, so on and so forth, dude, I've got zero issues. She fit here really well with this cast. I thought in just an epic scale movie like this and everything.
Perfect job for her, by the way, for her to take the gauntlet. It's like, here, I'll run away with this.
Perfect. I actually I gave a fist pump for that. I'm like, all right, good. Now
Right.
now it's in really good hands. Let me be straight up, dude. Oh man, I was worried for Spidey. That's going on because
Mhm.
I'm like this, and I couldn't. I was laughing really hard because he finally uses his insta kill thing on his suit. But
Yeah.
that oh
Thank you for bringing
it
that up. I'd forgotten about that. Not a
yeah.
fan of Spider-Man with the insta-kill.
Yeah, he finally uses that, and then he has this moment where he's getting surrounded by Thanos minions. He's like, "I got this, I still don't got this."
No,
And
you're
Captain-
right. You're right, but not liking the fact that Spider-Man's killing things,
Right,
space creatures.
right.
Spider-Man's not supposed to be killing anything.
No, 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 no.
That's
And
still a 16-year-old kid.
it is, and I'd argue this might well be. I hope it is at least one of the only times you get a real shot to use that feature of his suit.
I
See
don't
it again.
disagree with that either. I'm not going to make a qualm about it. I mean, you're not talking about just his life and maybe the life of the people around him. You are talking about half of the life of the universe. Actually,
Yeah,
worse now, the whole universe, as it will
yeah,
be undone and redone by in Thanos' vision.
yep,
So, I get your insta-kill.
yeah.
You get a reprieve for the Spider-Man insta-kill, but I don't want to see that again, just like I don't want to see his face. I don't want to see his face. If he's got his costume on, I do not want to see his face.
I agree. Uh,
I can take another Spider-Man movie, maybe even half of one after that, of goofball I don't know what the hell I'm doing, Spider-Man.
Sure.
But I think in the third solo movie, we really need to start getting him into I'm a bit more confident Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man has always questioned his motives and his actions and what he can
Yeah.
do better. That's one of the things that makes him great.
Yep.
But he's not quite the buffoon they're making him out to be.
No.
And
No.
I get it because he's young and he's starting out. But let's start seeing some growth in this area.
Yeah, the it seems to me the arc that's at least some of the blueprint that's being followed here is the Spidey from the Ultimate Spider-Man universe. He starts very, very similar, but man, he has a ton of growth. I think the most I saw at least started around the Black Symbiote arc when,
Hmm.
Venom came into the picture, and that whole
Well, that's not
situation.
going to happen.
No, it won't. That whole situation was casted completely different in that universe, but still, uh, I mean, just pick. I mean, there's one of a ton of different circumstances that could bring that out in him. I would agree. I hope to see it too. This is not, I think, a mode he can stay in forever. Especially, here's a big deal too. I think this is going to be a motivating factor for him. This is a big deal with Tony Stark gone.
Hmm.
Like I would think as someone who admired him so much, now this is really going to become more of a game of, look, I got some shoes to fill. Like,
Hmm.
Stark entrusted me with this stuff. I got some stuff to live up to. I can't just goof around with this forever. And I would hope that would be something that drives him going forward.
Yeah, no, no. Looking forward to seeing what happened 3 months from now. So I
Yeah.
think that's a perfect segue because and then there are still even topics that we have not touched, but we are an hour in at this point.
Right.
But we do need to touch one more, and that is Iron Man. That is Tony Stark.
Yes.
We can't
Yes.
not do this without talking about that.
Right.
So, like I said, I had switched um, my predictions on the two Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. and what happens to their characters. I had said in the past Iron Man lives through this and Captain America dies, but recently I switched that. And I said Captain America is going to live through this. Iron Man's going to die. However, I did not say that Iron Man was going to be the one that uses the gauntlet, but he does.
Right.
That was powerful, man.
It
I mean,
was.
that was raw and that was real.
Yeah.
Boom.
There
I
you have
mean,
it.
excuse me.
Uh, no, 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 you're good.
He is
Dude.
messed up after using that
Yeah.
gauntlet.
And one thing I love here is the way they show, like the penalties for using the Infinity Gauntlet. It's like,
Yeah.
look, you got to be harder than normal to even
The Hulk
withstand.
was still had his arm in a brace
Yeah,
at the end. The
the
Hulk,
Hulk.
Yeah, right?
By the way, quick plug. I was saying this after. I hope Hulk goes to Wakanda and gets a vibranium arm.
Well, he still has an arm.
He does. I just hope, dude. I don't know, pipe dream. Vibranium arm Hulk would be hacks. Anyway,
You
anyway.
want Winter Soldier Hulk? Is that what I'm
Let's
hearing?
let's go.
By the way, did you notice that the Infinity Gauntlet was made for the other hand?
Yeah.
There was a brief moment of terrified. I was terrified for a moment, like, oh my god, what if they somehow come up with the other Infinity Gauntlet, and
Right.
then somebody gets two
Right.
Infinity Gauntlets? How messed up would that be?
Oh, that'd be terrible. Put one on both hands. Let's go.
I would put one
But
on a hand, and then just to not conform, I'd put the other one on my foot.
I'm a nonconformist
That's,
here.
that's right.
It
Because
took
then
me.
if I use the one on my foot and it messes up my leg, then I can put it on my other arm.
See.
Then I get another shot.
I
I
like
get
it.
more
I like it.
wishes.
But no, that they answered. It answered a lot of questions that I had about. Some of us were wondering what exactly was Thanos' condition after using it. The penalties.
Hmm.
We're clearly showing that how much damage it did to him, how much damage it did to Hulk, and for Iron Man. Oh my God, dude! I mean, it cost him his life. But
I
that
think honestly, with the kind of destruction that we saw with it, he was lucky to even be conscious for a moment after.
he was, he was. You're right. I mean, even considering what that did, like to Banner and others. But dude, what a moment! He does the hidden smash and grab, not smash and grab, just the straight up yank, the yoink, the steal of the Affinity Gems. Thanos tries to get his snap off, can't get it, and then all the way back. This took me all the way back to the end of the first Iron Man movie. I am Iron Man.
Hmm.
Done deal. What a moment,
Do
man.
you think, because I think Iron Man goes into that moment pretty sure at this point, yeah, this is gonna kill me. But at the
Yeah,
same time, I think knowing the character as we've been able to follow for the last 11 years, there was still that little bit of him right at the end, just before he said, "It's like, no, I'm going to come out of this okay."
there was, there was.
I think there probably was like, nah, I'm going to be okay, and clearly not okay. Love the poeticness of not only seeing Thanos die once but twice in this movie, but also in the ways
Yes,
that he did die in both
karma.
of them. Now we were completely wrong on that. We had predicted that Thanos lives through this.
Right.
So I guess not. We've had a couple half points, but I think we lose not 1 point but two
Well,
because Thanos dies not
actually,
just once but twice.
if I
So
remember right, because I remember I think we came to an agreement on what we were saying was it would be hard to see. At least when I was saying this, it would be hard to see coming out of this movie leaving someone like Thanos alive. I don't see
yeah,
how you do it. If he's not dead, either putting him in some separate state of consciousness, like with what they
yeah.
did to Doomsday, separated in some container. Yeah, man.
And I had said that they wipe his memory completely. The only way they can keep him alive is that he has no motive or knowledge of the kind
Right,
of tyrant he used to be.
right, right.
Let
But
him. That somehow his mind gets wiped and he's Farmer Thanos again.
yeah,
I
I don't
think
think
they
you let
actually
the
did
guy
that in the
walk
comic
around.
once.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't think it'd be a safe universe period with him walking around one way or another. So
Well, yeah, he's gone.
very.
Multiple timelines where evil Captain America doesn't have to worry about Thanos because he's already dead. They already took care of him for him.
Yep.
Um, he he is. Dude. That should be like a whole thing. That should be one of their what if cartoons. Just
It's just
let's. What if Captain America didn't return the Infinity Gauntlets or the Infinity Stones and kept Mjolnir and the shield that he stole from another Captain America? What happens? He just rules everything. I mean, that's really why he went back to his timeline because he had screwed up that world so much that like the whole universe was trying to kill him. So like, all right, I'm done.
later.
I'm out. I had my fun. Woo! Back to my dimension. That's why he's there. That whole statement is such a loaded statement when he says it at the end. Oh, I thought I'd follow Tony's advice and live a life.
Right, right.
What a
It,
life he lived.
dude, you just see it. He just got that little smirk the whole time. Oh, so good, so good.
Oh, okay. No, all right. So Tony's gone.
Yeah.
Tony's gone. He's gone. Not that in the world of comic books. Not that hardly everyone's ever gone, but
Right.
do you think they ever bring him back?
Oh man. Well, see, here you go. And this is going to be a huge challenge for the cinematic continuity versus the comic continuity. Dude, like you said, dude, in comic books, it's kind of like, you know what? You're not a seasoned superhero till you die at least once.
Yeah.
You gotta die. Look, like
You're a pro
we
superhero like Spider-Man if you actually give birth to yourself too.
yes, that
that's
is the thing.
that's Omega level superhero.
Um, I think this is a real challenge. I hope for the movies that they sort of keep these things that are done from being undone. One reason why I think they're going to stay on the track of no Ali oxen free, no random reses, is they go through pains, like you said earlier in this movie, to like I tried to bring her back, I couldn't bring her back. Like I couldn't do it. Like there's limits to these certain things. I mean, there's
Mhm.
like three or four clear times saying that no matter how much we want everyone back, there's reasons why some
Which by the way makes complete sense that you can't bring Black Widow back when she's actually part of the device that
exactly
you're trying to use to bring her back. That's yeah. Okay.
right.
I think we see him again. I
Yeah,
think we don't see Robert Downey Jr. playing him again. I think he's
of
done.
course, of course.
But we see him again.
Cool.
He's gonna reboot himself.
If now well, that could be open ended too. Now I'll say this: that's not just imagining Iron Man in a human form. Okay,
Hmm.
so somebody like him who is delved into AI mainframes, data consciousness, an incredible invention like vision. and everything he represented, and just the incredible tech that went into him, it's not far fetched that
No.
Tony somehow, some way, some part of him, or whatever, what, who knows? Did he put some of himself in something
He
else? Like,
downloaded his consciousness just before they went and time traveled.
it's a thing. It's a thing I could see. So in what? Yeah, I think in that regard, in some form or another, I could see it. Just random Tony Stark as Robert Downey Jr. walking around. No,
Now, what I
like
could
not.
see in Robert Downey Jr. Reprising his role is
Mhm.
if they actually bring in Ironheart, which is the kind of younger version that they created here in the
Sure,
last few years. And
sure.
what he had done was he had downloaded his mind, and then you know how you have Jarvis and Friday.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was actually that for her.
Look at that. See,
Iron Man was the computer system. Tony Stark was the computer system for Ironheart. I don't think they'll do that. I could see that could be fun,
it
but
could.
Ironheart, a lot of people, despite the fact that I thought Ironheart was kind of cool, a lot of people didn't like her.
Hmm.
Yeah, so she's not. I don't know if they do that, but I think we'll see Tony Stark again, just as someone else playing him. At some point, someone's gonna start a device that he had set up with his consciousness downloaded and his DNA in it, and it will basically clone him and make his consciousness. He's done this on at least one occasion in the comics, probably multiple times.
There's
So
room. There's room for it to happen.
yeah.
I'll say that. It's funny. They're painting this universe as though it won't, but there is room for it to happen. It very well could.
All right,
Cool.
should we rate this?
We're there. We're there. What are we rating this out of?
I almost want to say, just because it was nuts to see it, 1 out of 10 Pegasuses. That was nuts to see the Pegasus. I'm like, what? Am I watching Lord of the Rings all of a sudden? I am in a 3-hour
Oh,
movie.
yeah,
Where did
I'm
the
down with that,
Pegasus come
man.
from? I mean, I know it was Valkyries, but where did it come from?
I welcome to how weird it's gonna be having part Earthling, part Asgardians.
Just out of nowhere, like I mean, there was nothing laid down in any of the movies about a Pegasus. Oh, actually, no, they showed her when she was a Valkyrie riding a Pegasus,
They did. They did.
but that was like she'd left that world behind. I
Well,
don't. Yeah, it's like
apparently not
yeah. Where did
fully.
the Pegasus come from? Um, let's see. 1 out of 10. No cutscenes at the end of an MCU movie.
No cutscenes. I love it. Hey, you started the last couple. I'll kick this one off. Out of 10, I'm gonna give this 9 out of 10. No cutscenes at the end of an MCU movie. This was
I know this is a
fantastic.
contradiction, but
Yeah, I'm saying the whole thing, and I'm being all formal here. Uh, Look, fantastic, epic for a lot of the things we mentioned. Look, even the stuff with timeline jacking with. There's a lot you can do with that.
oh, I should have
So,
gone 1 out of 10 evil Captain Americas.
see, evil.
Can I change it? I'm
So you have
changing it.
that
I'm
too.
changing it. It's 1 out of 10 evil Captain Americas.
Okay, it doesn't change it. I'm still sitting at a 9 for all the reasons we mentioned
Okay.
before.
Yeah, I'm going with the 9 too. I mean, this was good. Infinity War was so much better, though. I think actually,
Out,
as
out of
I'm
out of the two, yeah.
yeah, now that I'm getting further and further away from seeing the movie, but yeah, no, this was a lot of fun, and it was a good ending to 22 movies. It was a good ending to 3 great phases. It was a great ending to something that no one's been able to pull off before, and I'm looking to seeing the end of Phase 6 11 years from now, and
Uh,
what they're going to bring then, which I would bet real money is going to be Secret Wars, but we'll see.
I bet.
Um, yeah, no, good stuff. Good on ya. It's been a great ride. I'm ready for the next ride, or should I say, let's just get on this one again.
Right on, right on. So that is it for us. But hey, what did you guys think of this second part to Infinity War? What did you think of Endgame? We want to hear from you. Post down in the comments below with any thoughts, whatever else. If you support Evil Captain America, or you
Yes,
think he
let me.
does
What do you think of my theory of evil Captain America? Evil time bending Captain America. And is he OP? Well, he's clearly OP. He's clearly OP. But
Oh,
yeah, what
what?
kind of crazy adventures did evil time bending Captain America get in his almost 80 years time?
Oh man. Would love to hear from you guys about that. And hey, of course, if you're digging what you're hearing here, a like helps. A sub helps us go even further, helps us do even more. Stay tuned right here on our channel, of course, for not just our movies and our gaming coverage, but for stuff we have each week. Again, we're not going to be having a podcast coming up this week. We're going to have a slight gap, but you can also
Yep.
catch the Jagged Edge here too.
Nappy time.
So, other than that, you guys take it easy. Thank you so much for tuning in. Looking forward to hearing from you. Take it easy. Be well.
Yeah, and don't forget. I know you end at 99% times. Don't forget we're going to have the predictions video that we did this last Monday. So if you want to see what we're talking about with our predictions, that is going to actually come up starting right now.
Everybody, welcome and thank you for tuning in. No, it's not a Jagged Edge this time. It's something we're very excited for. We are just a couple of days away, finally, from the next part of Infinity War, the next Avengers movie. This is Ian here along with Chris, with all kinds of pew pew.
I'm doing the Jagged Edge thing, like pew pew pew.
See, because this is a time to pew, 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 instead of QQ. I'm totally
That's
cool
right.
with that. Totally
That's
cool
right.
with that.
Yes. What are we doing? Prediction.
We are here
Prediction.
for predictions. What is going to go down in this last part of Infinity War? What's going to happen? Who's going to stay? Who's going to go?
Okay, well, let's start there. Actually we can't start there because before we get started on any of the specific characters, the biggest question we have to answer, because it's going to relate to a lot of the other questions that we have in our predictions. Does the decimation get reversed?
Yes.
I think so too. I mean, Spider-Man's got a movie coming out in 3 months, so that's kind of the easiest one. But we have to lay down the foundation to start. Right. Yeah, I think it is. But let's get into the specifics about that. So when we say that, we mean that everybody who got killed in the snap comes back.
Right.
But what about those that weren't related to the snap? What about a Loki and a Gamora and a Vision?
These are really important points because you have these characters that have been pivotal into everything that's happening now, but as we've sort of mentioned in other shows and things like that, I think just mass bringing everyone back, just because even those who did not die as a result of the snap would sort of reduce. I think it would take away a bit.
I think it would. Yeah, I think it's too much. That being said, Loki's got a TV show coming out.
Right.
So, but I've said I think it's a prequel show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it would be an interesting story to see what Loki does after getting killed again. No, I think Loki stays dead. I think that's going to be a prequel show. I'm going to stick with that. I've been saying that since we heard about it.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a lot of fun like that.
It will. It will.
What about Gamora? Gamora, I mean, she either she's in or she's part of the Soul Stone.
Right. Now, okay, this is one, dude, I'm a little torn because on the one hand, I want to say it would have a lot more impact for her to still be dead. But this whole interaction we've been having with the Soul Stone and the things happening there, that leaves some room. I think a little bit of wiggle room for something to be reversed. I guess assuming she was back, I would take that a little lighter than I would like Loki being back. But do I think it's going to happen? Do I think she's actually going to come back? I'm going to say no. Could be a cynic on that, but I could be proven wrong. We'll see.
I think, it's interesting because what ties into that is another one of the questions, one of the bigger questions that maybe a lot of people aren't even thinking about because they're so entangled with the characters. What happens to the Infinity Gauntlet?
Right.
And, how do they handle that? I could definitely see as a last act someone saying, dissolve the Infinity Gauntlet, turn it to dust.
Sure.
Turn it to dust, decimate it. But then what about Gamora? Because I think I don't think Gamora comes back in this movie. I think Gamora comes back in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
I think that would make sense.
In fact, it'll be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the search for Gamora.
I like it.
But no, I think it'll be one of the major plots of the story. But then that kind of pigeonholes. Well, I guess it doesn't have to. I mean, it is a comic book world, so they can do whatever they want. But logic would dictate that would pigeonhole what happens to the gauntlet then, or the gems.
My one prediction about that is I think they're going to return it to the Forge world to have it melted down or to have
Okay.
that destroyed.
What do you do with the stones? I mean, the gauntlet's just the device that
It's
you need
ex
to use them.
exactly, exactly. That's the question.
See,
Is
and that leads into Gamora, but that also does lead into Vision because
yeah,
even if they bring everyone back, I mean, Vision was still there. He didn't turn to dust, but
right,
he wasn't actually a real person. But he
right.
did die.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I said at one point, I know I've said at one point on our weekly podcast, Jagged Edge comes out every Sunday. Check it out, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Um, I did say at one point that in the comics, Vision does lose his personality as well, and he turns into what's classically known as the White Vision,
Right.
which he stayed like for years. And I think that's what they're leading to. But yeah, he's going to come back. I mean, there's even a show again. There's a show coming out on Disney Plus called WandaVision,
WandaVision. Yep.
which
Yep.
is
Yep. Yep.
still one of the stupidest names ever. um, I think and I think a lot of it's going to be dealing with the fact that he doesn't have the Soul Stone anymore, and uh, the repercussions from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's necessarily even bringing him back or what, because I mean he was an android, but he was also a very special android
Hmm.
made from
Hmm.
Thor's hammer with the lightning and the Soul Stone and all the stuff.
If
So
you think about it, how much Vision represents, I mean, look, you had Stark, working on this, the Ultron, you had Thor, you actually woke him up, you had one of the, Infinity Gems itself. He's like parts of almost everything we've seen in this huge saga. It's pretty crazy. Crazy. So,
all right, so I'm going to start reading off some names.
all right.
What happens to? So that's what we're going to play. Star-Lord,
Star-Lord is brought back due to the
right?
snap.
Right.
Yep.
And I don't think a lot's done with him actually,
Same.
except for I think they will prelude to Volume 3 to bring Gamora back.
Yep. That's fair.
Tom Holland, Spider-Man. We know what happens to him. He goes to Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
He gets brought back. He's like, screw this. I'm gonna go overseas and like finally try to mac on this chick, MJ.
It's like, yeah, it's like I gotta hang out with my friends. Get me back in.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
cool.
Let's see, the Wasp, which really, I mean, again, I don't think she's gonna have a lot going on with it.
Right.
And actually, there's two different Wasps we got to talk about, because Michelle Pfeiffer is actually in this movie.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, yeah, everybody's in this movie. I forgot about that. So I think basically everybody who was decimated in Ant-Man and the Wasp, they will again also be brought back, but they're not going to have a lot to do. Maybe because there's so many.
There are, there was one, speaking, now we're talking about Ant-Man, I don't think we had a confirmation on this one. Now, I'm thinking back to Ant-Man 2 here. Help me out here. The white suit, she had trouble maintaining her own physical structure.
Well, you see, that was weird because now she's got some kind of special powers. No, that was the enemy. That was the villain.
Oh,
Of the
right,
movie.
right. No,
Yeah,
Ghost.
but yeah, Ghost. But there's still also, um, there's some. She's got like weird powers now, and we haven't even really touched on that. I don't think they're going to.
Well, the only reason I point her out real quick, since we're talking about that cast, is we know everyone who was with Ant-Man and the Quantum Realm experiment at the end of that movie know that they all got dusted. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know if she got dusted because bear in mind he was there gathering particles to help her out. I mean, if I remember that right.
Ghost. You're talking about Ghost.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Ghost
yeah.
get dusted.
Yeah.
I don't. I think that's an interesting theory, but I don't think they're going to go down that route.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they will.
Yeah, who
Maybe
knows?
I'm just getting it all wrong right here now.
Who knows? Just a cool thought.
What about Rocket and Groot?
Ah, I think Rocket lives. I can't. I think it'd be. I'd be weirded out if Rocket bit it in this one.
Yeah.
Not just because of the setup for the next Guardians movie, but I mean him being reunited with Groot. Obviously, Groot returning from the snap. That'd be a thing that has to happen. But I think Rocket stays. I think he hangs tough.
Yeah, right. You know what? And I think it might be best to even round it up because we don't want to take forever on this. And I think that's pretty much the same for all the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
I think they all come back. There is one, except for the two, obviously Gamora, and there's another one that we have to talk about. and that is Nebula. So let's go to Nebula then.
Yeah, good point.
Now, in the comics, in the original story, the original Infinity Gauntlet story, Nebula is the one that gets the gauntlet from Thanos, and she puts everything right.
Mm.
But she's also Thanos' daughter, and they end up having to kill her because she, if I remember correctly, and it's very vague, it gets to her head as well. Oh, I've got the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
So now I can do whatever I want with a snap of my fingers. So, which is the concern. And another question that I guess we'll bring up after Nebula: do you think she gets the gauntlet in this? Do they they go that route?
I like the nod and the nudge that you're pointing at here, and she actually does manage to get a hold of it. I think it'd be a fun twist if she does, even for a bit. I mean, one thing the
Mm-hmm.
Marvel films have done well is they won't take you blow by blow exactly everything that's happened in the comics, but you'll have a good, relation to it, or a good, like, nod at something that's not too tongue in cheek. So yeah, I think it could happen.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to go with you on that. I'm going to say she does. She gets the gauntlet, but I also believe that she gets killed.
Yeah.
I think she's going to bite the dust on this one. Her story arc's done. Her story
Yeah.
arc's going to be done with this movie. So, which is obviously dealing with the Mad Titan being her father.
Right.
And I think she will play her key role here, and then it will be over.
Right.
And I think no more Nebula.
Fair. That's
So
fair.
now, this brings on two questions. First, because we're going to answer all these for you. And by the way, if we're right, awesome. Give us money or something. Because we're really going out of a limb. But what happens to Thanos ultimately? Because a lot's going to happen to Thanos, but ultimately, what happens to Thanos? And which part of that question means, does he live or die through this film?
Right. Let's face it, where we are now, look, Thanos is just not one of those villains I can see in just a maximum security prison or something at the end of it. He is way too dangerous to be around. One way or another, I think Thanos gets taken out.
You think he dies?
I think he dies.
Okay.
If not, well, I say take out. Let's pause. If not dead, not just like, thrown in some random prison or something like that. I mean, I'm talking about something happening on the level where, what was it, Doomsday, when he got thrown forward in time so far, he got like stuck in that loop of like decay, and like his body was constantly transported between these different like antimatter chambers for like the rest of time or something crazy until they broke him out again. But it's something like that. You don't. The point was you didn't just put Doomsday in a prison. Wouldn't work. It would have to be something very drastic to ensure this guy isn't, making the bend again. It's hard for me to square the thought of Thanos just being able to kind of pop back up into Marvel at some point after all of this. I don't see it.
Which he has done time and time
Which
and time
he has
again
done
in the comics.
I'll be fair, he has. Which he has. But
yeah, no, but right, you can't just have this level of a character just hanging out. That's tough. That's tough. I've got a couple ideas. in this. I don't think he dies.
Mhm.
I think they do something to either put him in a comatose or a non-threatening state. I can totally see at the end of this movie Thanos being on his farm, doing farmer Thanos things, but having no memory or idea or recollection of what has happened.
Doomsday
taking
style. Yeah.
Right, taking away all motive that he would ever have of trying to get the gauntlet again or the gems or anything like that. Or, and I say or, and I'll pick a side here in a second. Or I can totally see Guardians of the Galaxy 3 leading off exactly where this movie ends.
Yeah.
And they have Thanos.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're going to use Thanos as a way to try to put him in the Soul Gem and get Gamora out.
Hey, that's a good one, man. Thinking about that as far as, how you'd handle him and as far as what you do with him, it's sort of, I think back to the movie Inception about the power of an idea. Thanos just strikes me as one of those characters that's so utterly motivated
and convicted
Right.
that what he's doing is right, and set on a war path to do so, that nothing short of, I mean, complete erasure would turn him away from that. I think even if you took the guy's memory, I think somehow his own conviction, his vendetta, his cause would come back up. It would resurface somehow. The question is, if you took away his motive, how to do that. It would be a pretty ironic twist, and I'd be down with this if option A happened, the one you first like you outlined, but instead they turn the Infinity Gauntlet on him, or Nebula turns it on him and does that. Something.
I definitely feel that someone's going to get a hold of the gauntlet and use it against him.
Yeah.
I think it's ultimately what's going to end the end game.
Yeah.
Let's go back to some of the other characters here though. Black Widow
Lives.
Yeah, well, she's got a movie coming
Yeah.
out. So
Yeah, for sure. He has to.
the Hulk. And the precursor to that, do we get Professor Hulk? A lot of people are saying we're going to get Professor Hulk in this one. He's going to be the Hulk, but he's going to be smart.
It seems
it's like Banner but green.
It seems we're starting to lean that direction. I mean, he specifically says it at the end, Infinity War. It's like, buddy, something like, you and me got a lot of talking to do. I can't see the Hulk and Banner being separate just ad infinitum. I think there's gonna come some point, either some kind of compromise or one or the other. I think to further explore that, I definitely think Hulk is gonna not only live, but we're gonna see his character develop more.
Okay, well, and they said that Endgame is the end of a three-movie arc of a story for him,
right.
Starting in Ragnarok, continuing in Infinity War, and ending in Endgame. I know. I don't think he's going anywhere. And you know what? They don't need Mark. If Mark Ruffalo's done, then Mark Ruffalo's done. He wasn't the guy who started Banner in this world. And he doesn't have to end them. I can take or leave Mark Ruffalo. Honestly, I think he's actually one of a poor character choice or actor for the character overall. I've not been a big fan of it. I do think we will get Professor Hulk through most of this, if not the whole movie.
Cool.
Let's see who else. Thor, and I know we've talked about this before. Thor's going to be around. We're going to get a Thor 4.
Yeah, working our way on up the ladder.
That's what I'm thinking. Alternatively, I think both Thor and we know Captain Marvel's not going anywhere, despite what.
Oh no.
There's definitely a niche of fans who would like to see her go away. She's not. She's going to have more movies. We're going to see a lot. But alternatively, I can definitely see Thor and Captain Marvel having something to do again with the next Guardians movie and what they do with Thanos.
Sure.
I mean, you're going to need some strong men.
Yeah.
On that journey. You're going to need some muscle.
Definitely.
So, and Dave Bautista's character isn't going to be enough.
No.
We don't even really know how strong he is.
That's true. I mean, but yeah, well, when to someone to subdue the Mad Titan, it's either a god level like Thor or cosmic level powers like what Captain Marvel's wielding. So,
see, we're getting through most of them, but we're intentionally leaving some of the big names here for the end. Bucky Barnes and Falcon. We know they've got a TV show coming out.
Yeah, so they got to be back. Yeah,
right. So yeah, they're coming back. That's most of them.
Yeah,
it's not all of them, but it's most of them. But let's talk about some of the big ones here.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so here's what we know: Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr. are done with this movie. They're done after this one. That does not necessarily answer what happens with these characters, though.
Right.
No, we talked about this a little bit on our podcast. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get to them, dial it back a little bit. Use the time gem just a little bit. couple more characters to talk about here real quick because those are obviously the big ones. Sorry, guys. We're just going to talk about these two real quick. Hawkeye.
Oh, yeah. See, there you go.
And a lot of people, we've seen a lot going into Hawkeye, and
Hawkeye.
I think he makes it through this, though.
You know what? He's one I could see doing something very reckless here, that would put him in a really bad position.
But you know what? We know there's a miniseries coming.
Exactly. So, no, that's the thing. I mean, the point is, I think I see him.
They announced that last week at Disney Plus. So
I think he's going to be in a position where we bite our nails a little more than the
others. But he might get mangled or something.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's training Kate Bishop.
There you go.
Maybe he's got the shakes now or something.
Oh,
Or
shakes.
well, yeah, he's got the shakes.
That's such a good way to frame it. I feel you.
Yeah, it's the shakes. And Ant-Man.
He's still in.
Oh yeah, he's gonna stumble across a way to defeat Thanos.
He will.
Just like he does everything else. He's gonna he's gonna shit fuck his way to the end and just and defeat a hero. That's why I love him.
Yeah. Paul Rudd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's. I think he's fit this part well. Fun.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
Great. He's one of my favorite parts of the MCU. Okay. All right. Back to the other two. The lead two really.
Yes.
Captain America, Iron Man, and I actually think that their fates kind of go hand in hand. And I've switched this actually just recently.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if you would have asked me a couple weeks ago, I would have said Captain America dies, Iron Man retires,
Right.
gets married, retires. No, I don't think so anymore. Let's talk about Captain America first.
I think, and I can't wait to hear how you flip. I think Captain America dies.
Okay.
And not just because of the whole contract deal with Chris Evans and everything like that. I just look at his character arc as a whole. We've had all these references to what he does for the greater good. Ultimately, looking at the big picture. Not leaving people behind. I mean, even in his first movie, the sacrifice. What he takes there, really, literally putting himself on ice, rather than, doing something else. But he knows he saves everybody by doing that. He's the kind of character I could see, just going to those drastic lengths. I think it's something it's really impressed in his character. I think there've been small nods to it, all along in his movies. I think this is the time,
Okay.
for somebody else to pick up the mantle. It's Cap eventually.
Well, I think that'll happen too.
Yeah.
Here's what they're. I think their fates kind of intertwine here a little bit. I think Captain America ends up in a coma, in a comatose state, to return after Chris Evans realizes that he needs to be playing Captain America again.
Love it.
But yeah, no, I think he's going out, and I think Captain America is ultimately the one who gets the Infinity Gauntlet, and he is the one that turns back the decimation.
That would make sense.
And in using the Infinity Gauntlet is what puts him in a comatose state.
Right.
It's a big long struggle with Thanos, all the fighting, all the stuff, but he ends up getting it. Involved in that, I think, is Iron Man, who helps him get the gauntlet, and that's what leads to his death. And I think he will die trying to help Captain America get the gauntlet. And that was the big thing from the very first Avengers movie, is that he's not the guy who would make the sacrifice play, even though we've seen that he will.
Right.
But once again, I mean, because his roots either come from a shallow and conceited person. He will do what he has to do to try to make sure that the right person gets the Infinity Gauntlet to do what they need to do in a nail-biting, what's going to happen scenario against Thanos and his guys, and Captain America gets it, and he just stops everything. But you got to remember, even like a Titan like Thanos, and what the snap did to him, and how he was exhausted,
right?
And also there was a big axe in his chest, but
that
I mean,
something
even
to do.
yeah, that too. But I mean, even then, I mean, even the gauntlet was smoking after he did it.
Right.
So I think it's going to be too much. Captain America he's going to get the gauntlet. He's going to reverse the snap, and it's going to be too much for him. But he's not going to die.
Interesting.
But he'll end up in a coma until him or people are ready for a replacement actor.
Right.
for Captain America. They're not going to kill Cap. They're not going to do it. I don't think they're going to do it. They thought they were going to do it in Civil War. I thought they were going to do it in Civil War.
Sure.
But I thought they were going to do it in Civil War to bring him back.
Right.
Yeah, he does. They both get the sacrifice, with Captain America around in Shield headquarters or whatever they have, and on machines being kept alive.
Yeah.
For the day when he can come back. That being said, I think Robert Downey Jr., I think Tony Stark will die.
Hmm.
This is comic book land, people. They all come back.
Yeah.
They all come back. But I don't think Iron Man comes back with Robert Downey Jr. Uh, acting
No, I
as.
totally agree. Totally agree.
But I think Iron Man's. I think this is going to be Iron Man's time to go, and that leads to War Machine, and I think he's the one that's going to help Pepper and Happy kind of take over everything and make sure that Avengers are still running afterwards, whatever the Avengers are after the movie,
Right.
and make sure that everything is going in the right direction. I think War Machine has a very bland time through Endgame for the most
Yeah.
part, with probably the blandest ending. Because he is his sidekick, and I hate to say it that way. I'm a huge fan of War Machine, but that is where he is in this world,
Right.
in the
Right.
MCU. He very much is his Robin, basically.
Yeah. What I'm so
He is.
he is. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. What I'm so torn about here is I think back to the scene from Iron Man 3 near the start of that, where I believe that was Iron Man 3 at least, where Stark is in the midst of dealing with his PTSD, his, really his paranoia about the beyond, dealing with extraterrestrial threats and things like that. And he has that flash forward, he goes through that vision of Captain America's shield split, and the whole
But
Avengers
that was Age of Ultron when
Thank
he
you.
had that vision. But
Thank
he's
you.
dealing with the PTSD in Iron Man 3.
Right. Him going through all that.
No, that's not it. That happens in Age of Ultron. He
Right.
deals with PTSD after the first Avengers,
Correct.
but that vision happens in Age of Ultron.
There you go. Thank you. I look back to that, and on the one hand, I say that him being around, but not, ready to just pop up in any movie, but just around as in, like, I'm putting things in the side, I'm retiring, or, Rhodey, does a lot more, he becomes a lot more active, but he sort of takes on the back burner. This would be his one chance to finally, I think, do that after all of this. And I want to say, changing character arcs, sort of, making that full round on the story turnabout, all the conceited things he did in the name of, I'm going to figure out a way to protect everybody. I'm going to solve this problem. Looking less of everybody around him, the Avengers and everything else, is just, assets and part of an equation, as opposed to, all right, I should really, take responsibility for this. That would be a different, I think, way to show that, and for him to finally make that turnabout. But the other side of me says, what, we've had that chance already. Not just his transformation, him becoming a hero, that didn't change his personality a whole lot initially at all. But him going through New York, him going through Civil War, going through everything they've come to here, I could see it. Is this, being his time as well? And I think that what rounds this whole thing off for me was what we've seen in the trailers. He's in front of Captain America, and he just asks him point blank, "Do you trust me?" And the fact that, he does sort of says, all right, he's gotten over that beef, like those squabbles. And so maybe that arc, that already is complete. Maybe he's already rounded that circle for Marvel. So at the end of all this, all that being said, this is going to be interesting to see which one plays out. I like your thing about Cap. I think Cap's going, and I think Iron Man's going to go. I think they both are.
For anyone we missed, they get killed. They're dead. Guys, what do you think, though? What do you think's going to happen? Comment below. What do you think's going to happen to our characters? How do you think this is going to play out? I mean, the one thing that is the most irrelevant to ask is that people come again. We know there's a Doctor Strange 2 coming out. We know there's Black Panther.
Oh, of course he's got to come. Of course.
Yeah, but I mean, we didn't even talk about Black Panther. I know, like, the whole time, like, I'm forgetting somebody.
Right.
I'm forgetting somebody. I don't think anything significant is going to happen
Same.
to or Black Panther. I mean, his story seems to be more in the future here.
It does.
So although I do think that we do back to the fight in Wakanda, and I think a lot of that ends up happening there in longer roles than cameos or of villains and heroes we've seen in the past.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Real quick too, just for the sake of being cinematic here, I'm going to double back on something here, and I
Okay.
think just because I think this would be really fun, set this up. All right, You think Cap will be comatose? You think Iron Man's going? I'll go ahead and just for
Yeah.
the sake of fun, I'll flip that on its head. I think Cap's gone. I think Iron Man's staying in some form or another.
Okay.
See what happens.
All right.
So
Okay. So, well, definitely one of us is right or one of us is wrong.
yeah,
We can't both be right. We could both be wrong.
that'd be fun too, wouldn't it?
And we probably both are wrong.
Yeah.
So, but that's the fun of this.
It is.
I'm glad that they've kept this so close to the chest. This
Same.
has been a lot of fun to think about. And a lot of that comes down to most of the actors not even getting a full script.
Yeah.
In fact, I read somewhere recently that Robert Downey Jr. was the only one who got the full and actual script for the movie.
Wow.
Everyone else just got different bits of the script, fake lines. Tom Holland, I think they even just kept in a closet the whole time because he spoils everything. But hey, if you watch, thanks for watching. Let us know though. Let us know what your predictions are. We got a couple days here. Hopefully if you're checking this out after the movies come out, hopefully we were right on a couple things. And if we weren't, please feel free to just heckle us in the comments. Just let us know how stupid we were. We'll be doing the same ourselves. So, all right. I think that does it though.
Alrighty. Thanks again, everybody. Peace out, and we'll catch you right after Endgame.
Hey people, thank you for tuning into this episode and taking a listen. If you like our content, if you like what you're listening to, or anything we go over, hey, please, we would not only love to hear more from you, but if great if you could throw some support. You can subscribe right below. Also, you can toss us a line anytime. That's ksawmedia@gmail.com. Of course, you can tune in for our channel anytime for movie reviews, game reviews, a lot of random wacky stuff. Who knows what you'll hear. And of course, our episode each week where we're bringing the nerdiest things we can find, dig up, and maybe not find, maybe the stuff that just drops in our laps. But anyway, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. We hope to hear from you again later. Take care.